In this video recording, we're going to look at how to write the start of a melody. The melody you get at the end of this video won't be perfect and definitely shouldn't be handed in as coursework, but it's definitely going to be a good starting point. So if you remember in the last couple of videos, we created a piece that used the A major scale as a descending bass against first of all a static A chord, and then we used this grid to change between all of the major chords. So we only actually used A, D and E. And what we need to do now is create a melody, a tune that goes on top of that. So we had this chord progression here, and we know that each of these chords, A major, E, D, E, D, A, E, A, has these notes in. So what I'm going to do is, using my first chord, which is A, knowing that I have an A, a C sharp and an E in that, I'm going to just improvise a melody using a keyboard. So I'm going to go in to Logic, I'm going to create a new instrument, track new. It's going to be a software instrument so I can play it using my MIDI keyboard, and hit create. That gives me this new MIDI track here, and I'm going to choose an orchestral instrument, woodwind, and I'm going to have a flute. So now, if I get my MIDI keyboard, and I'll show you the musical typing on the screen. So now I got my MIDI keyboard, I can press the notes of the chord A, C sharp and E. If I improvise a rhythm using those notes in any order, then I can get the start of a melody. Oh, I like that. The reason I liked that last part was because it used an offbeat rhythm. It was slightly syncopated, so it makes it a bit more interesting. So I'll do that again. Right, I think there's some potential in that, so I'm going to record myself playing that. Right, so if I now stop the recording, I can go in and isolate one time where I've played that quite well. So I'm going to cut that out using the scissors and then delete that. I'm going to go in and make sure that the rhythm has been played quite accurately. And I think, in all fairness, I've done quite well there, but I am going to quantize it to 16th notes, and that just tidies it up very slightly. And now I'm just going to loop that melody around. Well, it's not quite a melody yet, maybe a musma or a riff. I'm going to loop that round, and it now sounds like this. Okay. So it's very repetitive at the moment. So I'm going to make it different each time it's played. So to do that, I'm going to start the same way I did in the last video. Left click on my looped regions, and I'm going to right click again and select convert loops to real copies, because again I can now change each of these loops without worrying that they're going to affect the other versions of the loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this table, which has the 3 chords that I used and the notes that are in those chords, and every time the chord changes in our chord progression, I'm going to make sure that the notes in my melody only use notes from that chord. So to get things going, we know that our first chord is A, and I only used A, C sharp and E when I was improvising, so that's okay. Next chord is E major. So in the second bar I've got E major, and I can see here I've got E, G sharp and B. So if I now go into my flute part and change this, that A isn't in an E major chord, so let's make that G sharp. That E can stay, and that C sharp needs to change, so I'm going to move that down to a B. And you can see already, if I play back the first 2 bars, I'm already starting to get some sense of development. So if I go back in, let's look what was our third chord. That was D, and we've got D, F sharp and A in D major. So I'm going to make sure my third bar has only those notes. A is okay, E is not, so I could move down to D, but I'm going to be adventurous and move up to F sharp, which allows me to put my C sharp up to D. So next chord, if we look along here, was an E. So we've done that one before, so that should be easy. Maybe we can be a bit different though. Why don't we try a G sharp, a B, and then an E, so that one ascends. Okay, so our next one is a D, so let's look here. Why don't we descend with this one? So maybe we could go F sharp, E's not in the chord, let's make it a D, and then B. So we've had a rising and falling pattern there. Let's have a look now. We need an A chord, so A, C sharp and E. Well, we've already got that, so I'm going to play it safe for now and just leave that the same. Then we have got a chord of E major, so we need E, G sharp and B. Let's see what we can come up with here. Let's do what we did before of a G sharp, an E, and going down to a B. And then we know our last chord is A major, and that should already work. So let's hear what we've got. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of work still to do, but we do already have a simple chord progression, bass line, and melody. So that really is the start of a melody.